of the things I loved about the One Big Beautiful Bill is it locks so much of the tax code in permanently that now small businesses and people, they don't have to worry about it. And who's you know um, who's the big one of the big losers here in my mind? It's lobbyists, because who benefits the most when there's massive amounts of the tax code that is left in limbo year after year, and you're going to have this giant tax cliff. Well, the lobbyists become very, very important at that point. And so just locking everything in, I think that's good for small businesses, it's bad for lobbyists.
Yeah, I saw you make that point in your op-ed, and I hadn't thought about that point. It's true because when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed, we were thrilled with what was in it and how it was so directed at small businesses with that immediate expensing, with the 20% pass through deduction. But we saw that end date right away and thought, wow, we're going to be right back here in a few
Yep.
years fighting this fight. But the lobbyist point is a little bit comical, really, and it's true. So
Yep.
but some of the provisions do expire,
Yep.
and the unfortunate part is they're the overtime and the tips, no
Mhm.
tax on overtime and tips in 2028. What do you think the chances are that they'll really let them expire?
Yeah, so the overtime, tips, and salt. Those are the big expirations that'll be coming up. And you know, it's it's not nothing. Absolutely, it's a big deal. But we are talking about a much smaller part of the tax code than what we were talking about prior to this. We're talking about 10% in terms of the revenue impact from some of these provisions. I think the salt deduction is going to be the one where there's probably going to be the most opposition. At least if certainly if Republicans hold either the House or the Senate or the White House, and there's anything like any significant margin whatsoever, I think it would be harder to get through. A continuation of the 40K salt cap. I think there's a very good chance that could go back down to 10K. And look, if we wanted to swap that out for something else that would be beneficial in some of the areas that make a change to the AMT or make a change somewhere else. But I'm not a big fan of a salt deduction where we reward states and localities that have higher taxes by effectively offloading some of that tax burden from those areas to other parts of the country. And so I'm hopeful that actually when those temporary provisions expire, we actually might end up in a better position than we are now, just because so much is kind of coming from that salt cap expiration as well.